on, everybody? Welcome to Cocktails in the War Room, episode 222. Welcome to the War Room. I'm your host, Mistress Carrie. This is the actual War Room, the room in the house that the show is actually named after. And, well, it's the place where all of my military stuff is in the house. It's also where the bar is. So all the memorabilia I brought back from my trips overseas, things that my family has brought back from generations of deployments. And I don't think that it's a coincidence that it's where we ended up putting all the booze as well. I apologize for the show starting a few minutes late. Someone decided they didn't want to poop in the snow. If you're new to the War Room, this is basically how we start the show every week. This is episode 222. We're almost at our 3-year anniversary, which is coming up on March 14th. So back on March 14th of 2020, we decided to start getting together at 8:30 here in my war room to ride out the craziness of the pandemic together. And we did 80 nights in a row. We launched the Mistress Carrie podcast. And once we did that, we decided that Cocktails in the War Room should be a weekly show. And that's what it's been ever since. Every once in a while, I got to take a night off or something. But usually every Tuesday night at 8:30, we're right here. And that includes my co-host, who, if she were a human co-host, would be able to poop in the house. But because it's a dog... hey, you're making me hit the wrong buttons, Wednesday. This is my co-host. She's the troublemaker. She's the one that makes the mess. She's also the one that makes the show run late when it's snowing outside and she decides she doesn't want to poop out there. Room 222 says Kevin. Let's see. We're docking your pay. Don't eat the yellow snow. 222, buy a lottery ticket. New Jersey just got 4 inches of snow, says Jessica. Mine doesn't poop in the snow either, says Jackie. Kristen said she's so cute. Yeah, she's adorable. She's a giant pain in the ass, but she's adorable. If you're new to the show, her name is Wednesday. You can find her right there on Instagram, Wednesday the Goth Pug. And by the way, if you're new to the show, if you're joining us for the first time, you got to let us know that this is your first time having a cocktail in the War Room. Let us know in the comments that it's your first time, and also let us know where you're watching from so that we can properly welcome you. And cheers to anybody that's new to the War Room. We always like to have a cocktail or a mocktail, depending on if you drink or not. And you can always tell what I'm having based on the glass or mug, in this case, copper mug, Moscow Mule, a little ginger beer, some extra lime, and just a skosh of vodka. Let's see. Welcome new being, says Diva. Elsa says blueberry cobbler. We got 3 inches in Foxborough. We're chalking it up to shrinkage, he says. Let's see. Watching from Londonderry, New Hampshire, says Jeffrey Wilson. Wherever you guys are joining us from, when we talk about the snow, that's not just a Northeast or cold weather thing anymore because, well, obviously the West Coast has been getting snow, including places like Los Angeles and San Bernardino. And anyone that's tried to fly recently, especially just coming out of February school vacation, knows that some of the flights have been insane, as was mine trying to get back from Vegas. And I want to tell you guys about my Vegas trip. Greg says, cheers from Keene, New Hampshire. What's up, Greg? Always crushed ice, says Eric. I need to get an ice maker that makes crushed ice because mine makes crescents. And as we have talked about at length here in the War Room, hey, will you be nice? Stop. Crushed ice is the GOAT, but 100%. That was me that said hello at Logan Airport a few days ago. What's up, Lou? So got a chance to see some people at the airport while I was trying to get out of here to go to Vegas. We actually, Lou and I passed on escalators, you know, like the Jetson sidewalks. It was like, hey, Mistress Carrie. And I was like, hey, how you doing? And then he was gone. So what's up, Lou? Thanks for saying hello. The weather pattern has been wicked weird, says Jonathan. My friend in California has snow for the first time. She's seen snow for the first time, says Diva. Yeah. So when I landed in Las Vegas, it was snowing when I got to Vegas. And it wasn't accumulating, but just seeing it fall out of the sky, people were literally losing their minds. And there were all of these people There were all of these people that were in line to get a taxi with me. They were like, I didn't pack a coat. I didn't know it was going to be this cold. Meanwhile, it was almost 50 degrees. It just happened because there was super high winds coming out of the mountains that the snow was coming. By the time it hit the ground, it was completely gone. And I was there stuffing my winter jacket into my luggage while I was trying to get a cab. I do want to let you guys know one thing that happened to me at Logan before I actually got on the plane to go to Vegas. If you ever want to travel anywhere, don't do it during February and April school vacation. Now, there's a lot of people that are watching here in the War Room that have no idea what that is. I didn't realize February school vacation was like a regional thing, but it is. So for anybody that doesn't know what that is, the kids in the schools always get the week of President's Day off. It's a way for them to only miss 4 days of school because of the holiday, and for the schools to close down during what is normally some of the coldest parts of the winter, and save money on heat. And it also gives families a chance to kind of either enjoy the snow and go skiing or get the hell out of Dodge and go someplace warm, which is why there's like 10 times the amount of traffic in Florida because of February school vacation. So I didn't realize that February school vacation was going to cause such a problem at Logan when it came to parking. So I arrive at Logan, drove myself, fully prepared to pay the ridiculous price per day to park because I was taking a red eye back and I wanted my car to be right there when I landed, like at dawn when I returned. I pull into central parking at the airport. Now, depending on where you're hanging out with us here in the War Room, parking at the airport can range from like $8 a day to like almost $40 a day in Boston. So I pull into what they call central parking, which is the main parking lot, multi-tiered and leveled parking garage right in the middle of the airport. You pull into the same parking garage and then you follow the signs to whatever terminal you're going to based on the airline you're flying. There's giant signs that say central parking is full. And I'm like, I don't know what to do if that happens. Like there's no other place to park. So I pull in, there's an attendant there with valet slips. And he's like, go up to the top floor of the garage, take these slips with you. And I was like, well, what about economy parking, which is a little bit further away. You got to take a shuttle bus. But I was like, I would rather do that. He was like, it's full. I was like, okay. So I just follow all the traffic up the spiral gates or whatever, all of the ramps to get up to the roof. And they're literally like quadruple parking people on the roof of the parking garage at Logan. And this guy comes over to me and I give him this ticket and he's like, what airline are you flying? And when are you coming back? And I was like, well, what's going on? And he's like, it's February. Thanks for sneezing on me Wednesday. I appreciate that. He said, it's February school vacation. The parking lots are just all full. The Logan Express lots to get into Logan are all full. Unless you have time to leave and go park somewhere else and take an Uber in, you've got to valet your car. And as spots open up, we are going to move these cars into spots. And when you land, you're going to go to the valet and give them the other half of this ticket. They're going to give you your key back and tell you where your car is. So just imagine, right? I'm trying to go to Vegas. I'm like, okay, no big deal. And I literally, it's one thing to valet when you're at dinner. Hey, will you shush? It's another thing to multi-day valet. And he goes, take this ticket and just leave your key in the car. So I left my car with the key in it on the roof of the parking garage at Logan and just got on a flight for like days. Took the ticket with me and I was like, okay, I guess when I get back, I'm just going to have to like figure out where my car is, which is exactly what happened. Getting back from Vegas wasn't exactly easy. What's up, Annie Joan? What's up, Brito? Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Heidi's here. Lisa's here. Eric joining us. I've been to Logan. I've heard of the airport. Is it that busy? Eric says. Normally, it's not this crazy when it comes to parking. And so get out to Vegas. Now it's snowing. I'm like, okay, my bag arrived, which is always a good sign when you get to Vegas. But as we've discussed at length, I had a change of clothes in my carry-on just in case. So check into my hotel. They actually texted me when I turned my phone on at the airport, said my room was ready early, which was awesome. So I went right to the hotel. It was like before noon Vegas time, got into my room, got settled, and started to go down to the lobby to get something to eat for lunch and to try and meet up with some of the radio people that I know from around the country that were flying into Vegas for this radio convention. That's why I went. So before I tell you about some of the people that I talked to, some of the bands that I met, some of the music that I heard, getting back was a disaster because of the weather on the West Coast. There was so much snow and high winds on the West Coast that it delayed every flight. My old boss, Joe from WAAF, is now running a couple stations in Texas. Met him in Vegas. We got to hang out a bunch, which was really cool. And his flight back to Texas got delayed. Thankfully, I kept my hotel room because I was taking a red eye and I thought, well, the convention's over at like 7:00 at night. Maybe I'll want to go back and take a nap or take a shower or whatever, because I was going to shows every night in these dark, dingy, rock clubs off of Fremont Street in Old Vegas. And thankfully, I kept my room because not only did my old boss's flight get delayed, but my red eye got delayed 5.5 hours. And had I not saved my room, I just kind of would have been sitting there in the lobby like, what the hell do I do? Because I had slept for about 6 hours the entire time I was in Vegas, and I was too tired to gamble, too tired to go out drinking. I had no voice left. I couldn't drink any more tequila. I tried to nap. It didn't work out really well. Hey, will you stop? Get down. So when I finally found out my flight was going to actually depart, I hopped in a cab, went to the airport. By the time I got to the airport, even though Vegas, everything is open all night long, everything in the Vegas airport closes at 1 a.m. So there was no place to even get a bottle of water. There was no food. There was literally nothing. So as I'm sitting there waiting to get back onto my flight, I noticed that a lot of people at the gate didn't find out the flight was delayed 5.5 hours till they got to the gate. They weren't following on the app, which you should always do. Check the flight status. And people were just passed out, sleeping everywhere. It was just a disaster. And they were starting to worry that the flight might get delayed again. And then the people at the gate agents came on and they were like, we are hoping that we're going to be able to get the flight off the ground, but we're doing the math right now to make sure that the crew paw, other paw, high five, to make sure that the crew is actually going to be able to man this flight. So everybody's like, what the hell? There's no more cookies Wednesday. Look, see, they're all gone. See, there are no more. No more crying for cookies. There's no more. So as we're all sitting there, it's like 2 something in the morning. It was like 2:30 something or whatever. It was like maybe 2:20. And the pilot comes out to the gate. And she's a woman that is my age, maybe younger. She gets on the PA and she's like, listen, I understand that everybody wants to get home. The crew is from Boston and we would like to get home too. Flights are delayed because of the weather on the West Coast. We've been waiting for this plane to arrive so that we can fly it to Boston. It just arrived. They're cleaning it now. She's like, and my first officer and I are going to go in and start pre-flight. When the gate agent tells you to start lining up and boarding the flight, hey, shush. I need you to do that in as quick and orderly fashion as possible. She's like, pilots are only allowed to fly for so many hours. And if we don't get this flight up, I think it was in like 12 minutes or something insane. It was like 200 people on the plane. they're going to ground us because we're not going to be able to land in time for our pilot window, and you guys are going to get stuck here tonight. So she's like, figure out what you're going to put in the overhead compartment, figure out what you need out of your bags, cram your jackets into your bags, whatever you need to do that now. When the gate agent tells you to start boarding and by groups, I want you to board as fast as possible, as organized as possible. Sit down, put your seatbelt on, and do not move. We'll sort things out once we get in the air. She goes, and I'm going to fly this thing like I stole it, because if I don't, we're not going to make it there in time. I'm not kidding you. Get on the plane. People start cheering for this woman who is now my hero. So she gets on the plane. The first officer gets on the plane. The flight crew is doing whatever they got to do. The gate agent starts lining people up, like kind of like Southwest does, like lining people up based on groups, military service, people that need extra time, people with kids, first class, medallion members, the groups, all people are just lined up. It's like 2:30 in the morning. And as soon as they start scanning the tickets, they're just like, go, go, go. They boarded this flight in 5 minutes. People were scared to death they were going to get stuck in Vegas for the night. 200 people, completely sold out flight. All the baggage compartments, people were helping each other. Kids were quiet. Everybody's seatbelted in. The pilot comes on and she's like, thank you guys. We've been cleared for takeoff. We're cutting the line to get me in the air while I still can. We get on the runway. She guns this plane, basically took off like the goddamn space shuttle. We were takeoff to touchdown at Logan from Vegas, 4 hours. I've never seen anything like it. I don't know why they don't make people fly like that all the time. It was unbelievable. I've never seen a flight like that before. Then we land and everybody's trying to find their bags. You know, it's morning now. It was like 10 o'clock, 10:30 in the morning. And we land. We were supposed to land like before 6 originally. And so we land. We're like, okay, whatever. Now I have to go find my car, which was on the roof of the parking garage, encased in a sheet of ice like an igloo. It took me like 15 minutes to get the door open to get to my brush and scraper. I had to warm the car up for like half an hour to get the defroster so that I could see, got the car cleaned off, made it home, unpacked the car, hugged the dog, took a nap for like 90 minutes and was on the air all afternoon. By the time I finished the show on Saturday, I had zero voice left and had to call the Theory of a Dead Man and Saint Asonia guys and tell them that I couldn't make the show Saturday night because I literally couldn't talk. What's up, Tom? Heinz says, I would share my Cheez-Its with you. I did have Cheez-Its on the flight. It's the only thing I had to eat because everything at the airport was closed. So there was no place to eat. So I did take a picture. I sent it to the people with Mistress Carrie backstage passes, but I did eat Cheez-Its on the flight, and no one tried to get at my Cheez-Its, which was fantastic. I watched a fantastic drumming documentary called Let There Be Drums on the flight, which was great. If you haven't seen it yet and you're a fan of the drums, you definitely want to watch this documentary. So that was basically my flying experience in a nutshell. Let me tell you about some of the people that I got to see and meet and hang out with, and some of the music that I got to hear in Vegas. So the reason why I went out to Vegas is a convention called Happens, which brings record companies, bands, and radio people and booking agents into Vegas at the same time. And they do showcases where you go to clubs and watch the bands. You have a chance to kind of hang out. They do panels talking about radio things. They have acoustic performances. There were a lot of really, really cool things, which is why I really wanted to go. So some of the people that I saw there, Tommy Vext, the former lead singer of, hey, stop scratching me, of Bad Wolves was there. Haven't seen him in quite a while. I haven't talked to him since his full-blown meltdown on episode 3 of the Mistress Carrie podcast. Plus, he keeps getting banned off of social media for posting really dumb things. I saw Brad Stewart, who is the original bass player of Shinedown, who was in the studio and helped me convince Brent Smith and Jason to actually do Simple Man in the studio. He's now the bass player of Saliva, who played the convention, which was awesome. Had a chance to spend some time with Nita Strauss. Her solo album is coming out this summer. She's got a song on the record that has Dorothy singing, which is fantastic. Got a chance to hear that. Got a chance to hang out with local bass playing legend Marty O'Brien, who I've known for over 20 years. When Tommy Lee was not rapping in Methods of Mayhem, and before he got back with Motley Crue, when he released the Never a Dull Moment album, and when Tommy Lee played the big field day that WAAF had in Brockton, Marty O'Brien was his bass player. He's been the bass player in so many bands, Static X. He's like the hired gun guy that everyone calls when they need a fantastic bass player. Last year, he gave up his 10-year gig playing for Lita Ford because he's now the bass player in Daughtry. And so I got to hang out with him for a while. He's from Rhode Island. He's coming on the podcast because he's got amazing stories. Underneath Marty O'Brien is Jason Hook, who is the old guitar player of Five Finger Death Punch. Got to spend some time with him. He's got solo music coming out, which is really, really good. And speaking of hired guns, he's one of the artists that's actually in the documentary Hired Guns, which is all about journeyman musicians. He's played with Alice Cooper and so many other bands over the years, and was one of just many musicians that was kind of featured in this documentary about what happens when a band loses a band member, when one is injured or out sick and they need someone to fill in, that there are all of these people that have made careers out of being a quote unquote hired gun. So if you haven't checked out that music documentary, Jason Hook, from Five Finger Death Punch, or formerly of Five Finger Death Punch. And if you listen to the bonus episode of the podcast this week and you heard me talking to Adam Gontier from Saint Asonia, that's who Adam Gontier ended up taking to the Eddie Vedder Earthling show because I couldn't go with him the last time I was in Vegas in September. So got a chance to hang out with Jason Hook for a while. Got a chance to see these guys right here. That is Crowbot. They played acoustic at the festival and were fantastic. That night in Vegas, actually, it was the first night of their tour opening up for Steel Panther. And so that was part of the reason why they were in Vegas. They were also the band that recently had their gear stolen while they were on the road. And the Crowbot fans actually donated to a GoFundMe to buy the band all new equipment so that they could go back out on the road on the Steel Panther tour, which was awesome. The guys from Crowbot are so good. You got to hear them on the podcast, but they are just such nice guys. It's hard to tell in the picture, but I believe it's the bass player. He's wearing a Bruins hat. So when I got to go up and take pictures with him, I literally, even though the lead singer came on the show and recognized me and was like, Mistress Carrie, hugged the bass player first. He was wearing a Bruins hat. Also got a chance to listen to a band called the Stone Horses, who are from Baltimore. They have a record coming out this summer. Really, really nice guys. They've got this great kind of blues-based rock vibe to them, and they were really good, and the guys were super nice. Also had a chance to, I'm trying to get to the picture, that is Arrow DeWild from Starcrawler, who played the convention and were great. The first time I saw them was in Vegas years ago at one of these clubs on Fremont Street, and they've since changed record companies. And the only way that I can kind of explain Starcrawler is they're kind of like an alternative rock band that is like, that's like Courtney Love. Like, someone described her perfectly at the convention. She's a female Ramone. That's what it's like watching them. Super punk, super stripped down. Just, they were really good. They were 10 times better this time around than they were a few years ago when I saw them. So finally, and she's 6'2", which is why I'm so damn short in the picture. And got to hang out with Chris Daughtry for a while. We had a really good time hanging out. There's a picture up on social media. His nails, as you heard on the podcast, he likes to paint his nails all the time now. His kids paint them. And they were the exact same color as my hair. And he was like, holy shit, like it's really like the same exact color. So we got to hang out for a while. Come to find out, we know a lot of the same people in Nashville. So we were texting mutual friends, pictures of the two of us together because they were like, wait, what are you guys doing together? Where the hell are you? So I had a really good time with him. And then this was the last picture, this picture right here. I took this picture at the airport trying to make my flight. If you've never been to the Vegas airport, they just have all these animals that are like tile and clay. They're huge. They're coming up out of the floor. And one of them is a bunny. And for some reason, people want to climb on the rabbit. So they had to put up a sign that says, for your safety, please do not climb on the rabbit, but selfies are encouraged. And I just thought it was the most random, weird, of course, that's a sign in Vegas sign. So I took a picture of it for you. Let's see. Elsa says, Jesse Desert Mistress Carrie is on. Oh, yeah. Somebody must have been asking while I was talking about if I'm back on the radio or not. So let's see. Mistress Carrie, I met you on the sidewalk outside the Summer Meltdown in 99 in Worcester. Miss AAF. Jesse, you can listen to me on the Pike. You got to check out the Mistress Carrie podcast if you haven't yet. Lots of great stuff. All the bands you love, they're all there. Let's see. Heidi says it is a zoo. Let's see. The barn is on fire. Go Bees. Guys, it's not to change the subject, but the freaking goalie scoring a goal the other day was just out of freaking control. Just insane. Does it vibrate? No. But I have a feeling that rabbit might be why this rabbit in Vegas always has people trying to ride it. But I thought it was kind of hilarious, so I took that picture for you guys. So that is kind of my Vegas trip in a nutshell. Some of the places that I ate, there's a great nacho place that's called Nacho Daddy. Not kidding. Fantastic nachos and margaritas. I also got to go to the Speakeasy that is in the basement of the Organized Crime and Law Enforcement Museum. So down off of Fremont Street in Old Vegas, there is a mob museum. I didn't have the time to go through the whole museum, but we were able to get the code word that you needed to go into the Speakeasy. And me and some friends from different radio stations around the country, they've got the sliding metal door. They ask for the code. You go downstairs and it's all velvet wallpaper and all kinds of really cool stuff from like the Roaring 20s, and it was just really cool. So if you get a chance to go to Old Vegas, it's literally a block off of Fremont Street to go to the Mob Museum and go into the Speakeasy and have a cocktail. It's not cheap, but it's definitely very cool. Heidi says you need to come and be on the radio in Vegas. I would love that. It wouldn't be hard for me to do it. Heidi says, did you try the Heart Attack Cafe? I did not, but I stood outside the window and watched. Like, there were people eating at the tables in Hospital Johnny's. They were bringing drinks in IV bags. Like, it was crazy. But again, I didn't have a lot of time to do a lot of stuff. This convention kept us moving pretty fast a lot of the time. There were a lot of performances and a lot of showcases that we were going to. And they also had a lot of panels, which put, a bunch of different radio people from different markets up talking about everything from social media to advertising to making sure you're staying in tune with your local audience, just all of that kind of stuff, which was really, really amazing. Keith says the Mob Museum would be like my family tree. Keith, right there with you, dude. That's why I want to go there. and really have time to walk around, because I didn't just want to get into the museum and have to like run through it. I really wanted to spend some time. William says, what's the drink for tonight and what is the bar drink in the book? Don't rush me, William. I'm getting there. The Mod Museum sounds fun. Yeah, there's a lot of great stuff to do. If you have not yet spent any time in Old Vegas, it's a shit show, but it can be really cool. Also drove by the Sphere, the venue that they're building by the Venetian that U2 is going to do their residency at starting in September. Craziest thing, I'm in the cab. I'm on my way to the hotel in Old Vegas, and I'm talking to the driver about the Sphere, and he's like, oh, we're going to drive right by. It'll be on the driver's side of the cab, so move over and roll the window down and you can take some pictures. As I'm taking pictures of the Sphere, it opened up the website for the venue as if I scanned a QR code and all I did was take a picture of the building. But it's this giant black orb that is completely skinned in LEDs on the outside. So once this thing opens, it's going to be just this constant light show on the outside. It's going to make Epcot Center look ridiculous. And it's supposedly skinned with LEDs on the inside to create what they're calling a fully immersive musical experience, which is pretty cool. What was the password to the speakeasy? I don't remember because someone else in the group got it, but they change it like every day. So you've got to go on the Facebook page of the Mod Museum, or you've got to go on their website and kind of search around for it and you'll find it. But it was pretty cool to go into the speakeasy, and like they had these really cool drinks, and they had like pretzel bites and stuff, but they came like wrapped in newspaper, but it was like wax paper printed with old like 1920s newspaper stories on it, which was really cool. Where is Wednesday? Byron wants to know. She's right there, just staring at me. At least it's quiet. She's quiet now because I don't have any more treats for her. She ate them all already. So now she's just kind of sitting, listening to me talk about Vegas. Coral says Fremont Street is very cool. The LED thing is cool. The zip line is cool. I haven't been able to get anybody that's willing to do the zip line with me, but I want to do it, but I want to do it with a group so that I have friends on the ground that are willing to take video of me, but then I want to have somebody next to me on the zip line too. And I haven't been able to find anybody that's willing to go yet. So someday I will. It seems like I end up in Vegas at least a couple times a year for work. And there are so many great places to go see bands. One place is called the Backstage Bar and Billiards. And it's basically decked out like literally a backstage at a concert with road cases everywhere. Saw a lot of bands there. Also saw a lot of bands at a venue called the Fremont Street Country Club, which is like right next door. But there are some great live music venues on Fremont Street. So if you're looking to go and check out some live music while you're in Vegas, and I don't mean like huge bands, but like to go and see like rock bands, like to go and support local music or whatever. I looked for a Vegas themed drink for the show and I couldn't find a Vegas themed drink in any of the books. But since Monte Carlo is famous for gambling as well, I opted to select the Monte Carlo Highball, which has 2 ounces of gin. It's also got a half an ounce of creme de menthe and also an ounce of fresh lemon juice and champagne. So it's a little lemony, it's a little bubbly, it's a little toothpastey. You shake the gin and the creme de menthe and the lemon juice, strain it into a highball glass, and then fill it with champagne and serve. And that is called a Monte Carlo Highball. It doesn't say to garnish it with anything, but obviously if you're going to mix lemon juice in there, you could do like a lemon salt or lemon sugar rim, a twist of lemon. You could do a wedge of lemon. We're always talking about how to garnish the drinks here in the War Room. But I was a little bit sad that I couldn't find a Vegas themed drink, but that's called the Monte Carlo Highball. So That's your drink for the War Room this week. Want to remind you guys about some events that are coming up. The big gig is coming up fast. Since tomorrow starts March, we're just a couple of months away. It's April 29th at the DCU Center in Worcester. It's the second annual big gig. Mike Shue and I are hosting it. This year, it features Breaking Benjamin, Falling in Reverse, The Pretty Reckless, Dorothy, and Beartooth. Tickets are available now, and you can get the details on the Mistress Carrie concert page at mistresscarrie.com. I also want to remind you to save May 6th, we are going to do a very special War Room on Deployment Saturday night episode on May 6th. It's a Saturday night. If you have a backstage pass, you already know the details. I'm just waiting for all of the graphics and the artwork and for everyone that's involved to be able to announce at the same time to tell you guys exactly what's going on. But I want to be able to use this as a reason to get people together, not only people from here in the War Room, but also friends that maybe have been disconnected because of COVID, people you haven't seen in a long time. This is going to be the meeting place. So please block off this day. It's going to start around 5 and go till whenever. But May 6th, you want to block that off. It's a Saturday, and I have more details coming probably in the next couple of weeks. So between episode 223 and 224 of Cocktails in the War Room, you guys will have all the details, and I'm pretty excited about it. And if it's something that's successful, we might do it all the time. All right, speaking of the podcast, episode 142 this week featured someone I love having on the show. He's a return guest. Tyler Connolly from Theory of a Dead Man, who was in town in Boston on Saturday night on the Rock Resurrection Tour with Skillet and Saint Asonia at Roadrunner. And they have their new album, Dinosaur, coming out on St. Patrick's Day. So I wanted to get Tyler Connolly back on the show to talk about the tour, to talk about the record. The band recently just got back from Australia. We had a pretty hilarious discussion about what it's like as a Canadian band to tour in Australia with a newly, I don't know what the word is, a newly sworn American citizen. Congratulations to Tyler Connolly, who is now an American citizen. He's actually a dual citizen now. It's one of the things that happened over COVID is that he got sworn in as an American citizen. So we talked a lot about that. We talked about koala bears. We talked about Australia. We talked about his mom. Tyler and I always seem to have really hilarious conversations on the podcast, and this week was no exception. So if you haven't checked it out yet, episode 142 of the Mistress Carrie podcast features Tyler Connolly from Theory of a Dead Man. You also got a bonus episode, literally had a conversation with Adam Gontier from Saint Asonia right before the show here in the War Room last week, and was able to get the episode up while I was in Vegas. No small task, by the way, to get that all produced. But Adam Gontier from Saint Asonia, we talked about the last time I was in Vegas. We talked about Mike Mushok and how he's working on Stained music and how he's not going to be able to play all of the Saint Asonia gigs that are going to happen this year, not only because of some family obligations, but also because of the music he's working on with Stained. So if you haven't checked out the bonus episode, that's why you got to subscribe to the Mistress Carrie podcast, because not only are the weekly episodes that come out every Wednesday at midnight, but you never know when bonus episodes are going to come. Sometimes I tell you, sometimes I don't. Sometimes I just release it. And if you haven't subscribed to the podcast, you might miss something. All right, I want to tell you who's on the podcast this week. Again, it's a returning guest. This week, Lee Kakati from Pop Evil is my guest. Now, Pop Evil is getting ready to play at the Palladium coming up in a few weeks. And they also have a new album coming out on St. Patrick's Day. It's called Skeletons, thus the kind of funky, scary picture of Lee right there. But Lee and I, again, someone that I always love having on the show. The last time he came on the show was right before the last Pop Evil record came out. I think it was episode 53, and now he's episode 143. So that shows you how long ago it was. But we talked all about the new record. We talked about how Lee Kakati was part of the Wolfpack's Christmas card this year. If you don't know who that is, the Wolfpack is what my husband and I and the kids call ourselves. And whenever we take the kids to concerts, because they're spoiled, they always get to meet the bands and take pictures with the bands. And we always try to take family photos with the rock stars that we can put on our Christmas card. And Lee Kakati was sweet enough to do that as we ended up last minute going to see Pop Evil in Shinedown last year because we were on a family vacation and we were in Madison, Wisconsin. And it just so happened that that tour was in Madison, Wisconsin. So we took them to the show as a surprise and we got to take some photos. And Lee was super sweet. We talked a lot about Haley, the drummer of Pop Evil, and kind of the influence that she has on young female drummers. She's such a monster player, and she is just so charismatic and sweet and so gracious with kids. She was so great with my kids, but also just encouraging kids to take up the drums, especially girls, that we had a long conversation about having Haley in the band. So episode 143 of the Mistress Carrie podcast goes live tonight featuring Lee Kakati from Pop Evil. And like I said, the band's going to be at the Palladium, I think March 23rd. And the details for that show are up on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Want to remind you guys that not only if you subscribe to the podcast do you get the full-length episodes and the bonus episodes, but you also get the sit rep, which is around 5 minutes long, and it's got all your rock news, music headlines, entertainment updates, and you get it every weekday so you can get caught up with everything that's going on and get about your day. And it goes live at like 3 a.m, so that no matter how early you get up in the morning, you've got this to listen to in the shower, while you're making coffee, while you're driving the kids to school, while you're sitting at the drive-thru waiting for an Egg McMuffin. You can listen to the sit rep. So you can check out the sit reps. You can check out all the episodes of the podcast, everything at mistresscarrie.com. And you can also subscribe to the podcast basically anywhere. There are a ton of places that you can listen to the Mistress Carrie podcast. Basically, any podcast outlet carries the Mistress Carrie podcast. And you can also check out every episode of the podcast on YouTube as well. Still working on getting a lot of the cataloged episodes, the library of episodes of the podcast up on YouTube. But moving forward, all of the new episodes are up on the podcast as well. So, so this is just a few of the places, but wherever you listen to podcasts, just search the Mistress Carrie podcast. If this artwork comes up, you're in the right place. Subscribe, share the episodes with your friends. You obviously are sharing it because we're in 149 countries. And not only are we in 149 countries, but I also got this alert. So Good Pods, which is one of the podcast outlets that you can find the podcast, sent me this email saying, congratulations, the Mistress Carrie podcast has made the following top listener charts on Good Pods. Number 7 in the top 100 performing arts chart, number 8 in the top 100 music interviews chart, and number 33 in the top 100 music chart overall. And that's because of you guys. So I wanted to thank you guys for reviewing the episodes, for sharing the episodes, wherever it is that you're listening to the episodes. It's obviously working because not only am I in all of those countries that you see, but also getting emails like that I'm actually charting on some of these podcast outlets, which is pretty spectacular. So Jessica says, I think Kid Rock's drummer is a woman and she's awesome. Jessica, her name is Stephanie. She's been Kid Rock's drummer since the first record came out, and she is so much fun. She is awesome. Jessica says, 149 countries. I am so impressed. Elsa says, congratulations. Wow, that's awesome, says Christine. Walter, we're taking over the world, says Mark. 150, come on, 150, says Michael. I know. Byron says, congrats, MC. Tracy says, love it. 30 more countries for world domination, says Melissa. I know. We're going to get there and we're going to do it together. And it's just a matter of just getting people to know that the podcast is out there. All the feedback that I get from people say that they didn't know it was out there. And then once they found it, they get hooked on it. They love the artists and the diversity of the artists that we have on the show. New artists, classic artists, people that help to produce the music, people that help to manufacture the instruments, the techs that work behind the scenes to make the concerts happen. It's for people that love music, especially rock music. All right, we got to talk about, speaking of rock music, we got a lot of stuff to talk about. Some big announcements happened today. The Foo Fighters announced today that they have added 3 shows to their tour. Now, we know they're playing Boston Calling, but the Foo Fighters announced this show that's happening the Wednesday before Boston Calling. So if you are not able to get tickets to see the Foos at Boston Calling, you can see them at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion on Wednesday, March 24th. The tickets go on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. However, there is a pre-sale. You need the code. The code is up on the events calendar. Go to the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. Find this show, click on it, and there is a code for you to be able to buy tickets early. I don't know how long the code's going to work. I don't know how many people got the code, but now you have the code so that you can try to get Foo Fighters tickets to go and see them at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion. That show got announced today. They also released the full-length video trailer of the new Foo Fighters Stern Pinball game, which looks spectacular. It's got the whole band, including Taylor Hawkins, in a van going to fight aliens. It looks really cool. If you're a pinball lover, the pinball game looks great. And Dave Grohl also making the news. He has been taking his smoker. He's a barbecue chef. Tommy Vext, matter of fact, talked a lot about it on episode 3 of the podcast, that Dave Grohl has been known on tours to tow this smoker trailer behind the tour buses and cook for everybody. And he's been doing that in LA, cooking for homeless people because it's been so cold and it's been snowing in Southern California. And I thought that was pretty spectacular. And the only reason the story got out is because Dave Grohl got recognized and TMZ picked up the story. But it's not like Dave Grohl was posting about it on social media that he was doing it. It just got out because he's Dave Grohl and he's kind of famous. So a lot of stuff going on with the Foo Fighters, but I really wanted you guys to know that this show is coming March 24th at the Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion. If you've never been there, it's in Guilford, New Hampshire. It's up by Lake Winnipesaukee, up by where Laconia is. Yes, it's a drive, but if you're going to be up there anyway, or you really want to go see the Foos, the Dropkick Murphys also made an announcement today that they are live streaming their St. Patrick's Day show from the MGM Music Hall at Fenway in Boston on St. Patrick's Day starting at 8 o'clock. I think the tickets are like $15 or something for the live stream. You get access to the show for an entire week if you're too drunk to remember watching it on St. Patrick's Day. And I added this live stream to the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com as well. Pre-sale is sold out, said Jane. I figured, but I tried. Anytime I get access to codes or anything like that, I always try to get them to you guys first. Jessica says they're going to do it without Taylor Hawkins. Are you talking about the pinball game? Taylor is on the pinball game. If you're talking about the band, the Foo Fighters announced over New Year's that they are going to continue as a band without Taylor, but that he'll be part of the band every night when they go up on stage. But they have not announced who is going to be taking over playing the drums live for the Foos. Most likely Dave Grohl will play the drums on the records, which he did before Taylor joined the band. But my assumption is that whoever plays the drums live is not going to be playing the drums on the album, because I'm assuming Dave's going to do it, although I could be wrong. But Taylor played the drums on the Foos records when he was in the band. So I think the Foos need to move on. I would hate to see the Foo Fighters and, everything that they've accomplished, especially for somebody like Dave Grohl that's kind of already been through this. The Foo Fighters were birthed out of loss, and it would have been kind of impossible for them to continue on Nirvana without Kurt Cobain. But I think the Foos need to carry on with a new drummer. And I think that Taylor Hawkins would want that too. So Shannon says, need tickets to the big gig. Heidi says, I watch the Dropkick stream every year. The Foo Fighters are in May, not March. It's May 24th. Sorry. If you're new to the show, when there is a typo, you have to drink with me. I have to drink. You guys have to drink with me. It's May 24th, not March 24th. My bad. Sorry about that. Taylor Hawkins had an amazing singing voice. Absolutely. Heidi says, Carrie, if you watch The Witches of Mayfair, it is so epic. Absolutely. Already watched it. I think I actually have an episode saved in my DVR right now because I'm behind because of my Vegas trip. It's possible that I could get Dropkick tickets, Keith, but probably not. Those shows are almost sold out. The Dropkicks don't need any help selling out shows around St. Patrick's Day in Boston. So drink. Cheers, social. Yes, exactly. Social to you guys. Okay. Other shows that we got to talk about. I decided to reorganize the shows. Oh, well, obviously we were just talking about Boston Calling. So the lineup for Boston Calling, this is why the Foo Fighters are going to be in New England because they're headlining night number 1 of Boston Calling. Because the Foos haven't played any shows yet, normally at the start of a tour, the band will rent out the venue that they're going to start the tour at a few days early to rehearse. So now that Bank of New Hampshire Pavilion show is scheduled for the Wednesday before Boston Calling, it wouldn't surprise me if the Foos end up at the Pavilion up in Guilford, New Hampshire, a couple days before the gig so that they can rehearse. Just a theory. I haven't heard anything official, but that's usually what bands do. The Lumineers and Alanis Morissette are headlining night number 2. Paramore and Queens of the Stone Age are headlining night number 3 of Boston Calling. So what I decided to do was start organizing shows in the War Room based on venue. Just takes up less space. It's a little bit easier for me to keep track of what's on the slides and what's not. So let's start with the shows coming to Big Night Live. Static X, along with Fear Factory, Mushroom Head, and Dope are going to be at Big Night Live, which is by the Boston Garden on March 21st. Vivi, who is Vili Valu from the band Her, is out on a solo tour, getting ready to release a solo record. He's going to be at Big Night Live on April 2nd. Enslaved is going to be at Big Night Live on April 6th. And Tarja is going to be at Big Night Live on June 18th. All of those shows are on sale now, and they are all coming to Big Night Live. All of the shows are also listed on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. At the Xfinity Center this summer, lots of shows coming and more getting added all the time. Dave Matthews on June 17th, Bret Michaels Party Gras on July 21st, Jelly Roll on August 4th, Foreigner and Loverboy on August 5th, Disturbed on August 18th, Ghost on the Re-Imperator on August 19th, and Nickelback on August 22nd. So these are all just at the Xfinity Center in Mansfield, Massachusetts. Again, all of these shows are on the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com. These are just some random shows that I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of. Jerry Cantrell coming up at the Cabot Theater in Beverly on March 17th. Blink-182's reunion show at the Garden on May 21st. Travis Barker actually having surgery. He broke his finger and dislocated his finger. You got to check out his Instagram. He actually videotaped getting the dislocation put back in. Ooh, but he's having surgery to fix his finger. As of right now, the Blink tour is still a go, but that's at the Garden on May 21st. Avatar is at the Paradise on May 24th. Anvil is at the Middle East on April 1st. And Aaron Lewis is at Foxwoods coming up on April 22nd. Some other shows I wanted to make sure you guys knew about at the Palladium in Worcester. A lot of shows coming up fast. Steel Panther on March 19th. That features Crowbot. If you are going to Steel Panther, do not miss Crowbot, the opening band. They are awesome. Pop Evil is March 23rd. Queensryche on April 7th. Nothing More on April 8th. And Wage War on March 12th. Also, Weezer Outdoors. That just got announced yesterday. Weezer is going to be playing outdoors behind the Palladium. If you've never seen a show out there, it holds like 10,000 people in the parking lot, and Weezer is going to be playing there. Tickets go on sale Friday to see Weezer outdoors at the Palladium in Worcester. I told you, there's a lot going on. Let's see what else. Oh, and at the MGM Music Hall, we were already talking about the Dropkick Murphys. They're actually playing March 16th, 17th, and 18th. So that's another typo. They're playing 3 shows at the MGM Music Hall and then a 4th show at the House of Blues on the 19th. Some of those shows might still have some tickets available, but the St. Patrick's Day show that they're live streaming is completely sold out. Also at the MGM Music Hall, the Pixies on June 8th, Les Claypool on June 29th, Yellow Card July 9th, Noel Gallagher on July 15th, Mastodon and Gojira on August 20th, and Beck is going to be at the MGM Music Hall coming up on September 5th. So lots of shows coming, a ton of stuff to keep track of. All of those shows up on the concert calendar. I have also been spending a lot of time adding different venues from around New England, including shows up in Bangor, Maine, Bridgeport, Connecticut, obviously the casino shows, a lot of the Hampton Beach casino shows. So if you guys notice that there's a venue you like to go to, whether they're up in Maine or in Rhode Island, at the Strand, I've been adding a lot of shows there. Take a look at the concert calendar. I want the concert calendar at mistresscarrie.com to be reflective of all of the shows in New England, because if you have a favorite band and you want to go and see them multiple times, like Jelly Roll has got 4 shows scheduled in New England. He's going to be in Connecticut, he's going to be in New Hampshire, he's going to be in Maine, and he's going to be in Mansfield, Mass. So if you want to go see Jelly Roll 4 times, you can do that in New England and only drive 3 hours or whatever, depending on where you live. So I really want Travis, it's Les Claypool's Flying Frog Brigade. That's the show I'm talking about. So I want you guys to know about all of the shows that are coming. So I've been spending a lot of time making sure that the concert calendar is representative of all of New England. Also want to fill you guys in on some new releases that are coming out on Friday. Elvis Costello is releasing all of his collaborative work that he's done with Burt Bacharach. They were longtime friends. Burt Bacharach just passing away recently. So they're releasing a collection of their collaborations. It's called The Songs of Bacharach and Costello, and that's coming out on Friday. Genesis is releasing their BBC broadcasts on Friday, and Porcupine Tree is releasing their Dead Wing album, but the deluxe edition of the album. So there you go. That is a list of all of the new releases that are coming out this Friday, but there's a ton of new stuff coming out in the next few weeks. Mail call, because of the craziness of Vegas and the weather today, I did not get a chance to go and check the mail today. So there's no mail call tonight. Sorry, Wednesday. She's sitting over there with her head on her pillow, waiting for me to start opening things. So hopefully we'll have mail call next week. Okay, Wednesday. Want to let you guys know about the online Mistress Carrie store. Record Store Day, by the way, is coming up April 22nd. It's a day to celebrate locally owned, independent brick and mortar record stores. We've got one right in Worcester. Joe's Albums, literally down the street from the Palladium. They carry Mistress Carrie merchandise. They also have a Mistress Carrie rack. So as soon as you walk into the store, please go and check out my rack. And there's always cool stuff in there. And speaking of the online Mistress Carrie store, guitar picks are on the way. Here are photos of the mock-up designs. I asked the people with Mistress Carrie backstage passes for some suggestions on what the guitar pick should look like, and they gave me a lot of great ideas. These guitar picks are going to be like opalescent white, and this is what the front and the back of the guitar picks are going to look like. I think they're awesome, and they're supposed to be in by the end of March, so I'll let you guys know when they come in. But I'm super excited to have guitar picks, not only to be able to give people at shows, but to be able to trade with the guitar techs and the guitar players that I see at all of these shows. Mark says, nice rack. The Bruins are up 2-0. Is that what you guys just said? Go Bees. Fantastic. And as always, you guys can check out all of the stuff. Everything is in stock at mistresscarrie.com in the shop. I will tell you guys that between the big gig and also the special on deployment episode of Cocktails in the War Room coming up in early May, we're definitely working on some new merchandise ideas for those as well. So pretty excited. If you're celebrating your birthday today, on the last day of February, you share your birthday with Jason Aldean. You share your birthday with Cindy Wilson from the B-52s, Donnie Iris, and Brian Jones from the Rolling Stones. So if today's your birthday, happy birthday. Happy unbirthday, Keith. Cheers to you guys. Keith says, been checking out your rack for years. Jessica wants to know how my mom is. My sister has been spending time with her. I was away in Vegas, so I wasn't able to go and see her last week. But she's doing okay. She made it through the COVID outbreak that her facility had. She's healthy. She's happy. I appreciate you asking. Not much has changed, which is good and bad. That she's not getting worse right now, but she's definitely not getting better. She's just kind of there, which is tragic and sad, but we just want her happy and healthy and living the best life possible that she can with her illness. And so I appreciate you asking. Want to let you guys know, speaking of Mistress Carrie backstage pass holders, that if you have a Mistress Carrie backstage pass, I'm always giving you travel updates, putting up pictures, telling stories, giving you recaps while I'm traveling. So you always get that. We got together for our exclusive live stream for February this past weekend. We'll be getting together at the end of March. I'll let you guys know what the date and time are going to be soon. They also, if the backstage pass holders get told when I book interviews for the podcast, so they can submit podcast interview questions. They get early access to event tickets. They get exclusive concert ticket giveaways, which includes, if you have a backstage pass, you have access to free tickets for all of the shows that I listed at Big Night Live. The Static X, Fear Factory, Mushroom Head, Dope show that's coming up March 21st, the Vivi show on April 2nd, the Enslaved show on April 6th, and the Tarja show on June 18th. So if you have a Mistress Carrie backstage pass, you know how to do it. Just connect to me through Patreon and tell me what show you want to go to, and I will make sure I give you tickets. And that is one of the many benefits of having a Mistress Carrie backstage pass. Trina wants to know how my shoulder is feeling. It's actually feeling a lot better. I got an injection a few weeks ago, and it's definitely feeling better. I'm really hoping to be able to ride my motorcycle this summer, hoping to be able to go skydiving this summer, but it still gets sore and it gets tired really easy, and it is definitely way weaker than it used to be. So I am waiting for a call back from my ortho, and I think I'm supposed to start physical therapy up again sometime this month. So, it's okay, but I'll show you guys. This is where I can put my left arm. like I can get it to go up there, but the range of motion, it's still painful and it's still somewhat restricted. The worst part is reach behind your back and like scratch in between your shoulder blades. I can't, my arm doesn't do that right now. I can almost reach my bra strap though, which is improvement, but it's still not where it needs to be. Let's see. All right. Want to remind you guys of all the places that you can find me on social media and online. You guys know the deal. These are all linked at mistresscarrie.com. Literally everything you could possibly need is on mistresscarrie.com. So there you go, guys. That's this week's show. Lots going on. Super excited that the Hubs is going to be here tomorrow to spend some quality time at home with me, which I'm really, really excited about. So I worked really hard over the last couple of weeks, lining up podcast interviews, getting interviews recorded, not only so that I would be able to be out of the studio for a few days to go to Vegas, but also, even though I'm still going to be on the air and doing all of that, my schedule for the next few days is a little bit lighter so that I can spend some time with my husband, which I'm really excited about. So he'll be here tomorrow, but by the time we get together for the War Room next week, he'll already be gone again. So I got to take the time while I can get it, and super excited that he's going to be here. So yay. All right, guys, episode 143 of the podcast featuring Lee Kakati from Pop Evil goes live at midnight tonight. And want to say what's up to everybody that listens to the radio show online. If you go to pikefm.com, you can listen. I actually got a tweet from somebody that got delayed waiting for a flight in Seattle and just listened to the radio show yesterday through the stream, which was pretty badass. So I want to say thank you for everybody. If you're joining me here in the War Room and you can't listen to the Pike in Worcester, you can always stream the show, which is awesome. So, all right, guys. Good night. I'm going to go snuggle with the dog in front of the wood stove and eat some soup or something and do whatever it is we're supposed to do at the end of February while it's snowing outside in New England. Good night, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Right, Wednesday? Say good night. Say good night.